I want to know.
Okay. I'm gonna start a recording.
Thank you, sir.
I think it's recording.
Yes.
Okay.
It looks like
It
Tori
asked
did
me.
it.
Oh, Tori, start again because I think I stopped it. Is it recording?
No, it's still
Okay.
recording. I can
Looks
see
like
it.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me start over again. So in a nutshell, colleges wanted CRMs. They really couldn't. Some of them couldn't afford them because of the size and the cost. And so the system office last year started the process of looking at creating a convenience contract with several vendors. Now the process has taken a very long time because we're a state agency and there's bureaucracy in the state when you do things like that. So they put the request for proposals out into the ethosphere for companies to reply. We had several companies reply. Element 451, Target X, blah blah blah. They responded, and so we've met with some, and we've looked at some of the costs, and so we're not as happy with the results that we've seen. And so one thing that has made us pause in one action we want to do is go back and look at the benefit to of the CRMs with the schools. I'll be honest, most of the ones on this call right now, you all have Element 451. Um, Element 451, when we started this process, was a much different price point than they are now. So their rationale is because they've added a lot of bells and whistles since the process started a year ago. And so because of that, their cost is pretty much almost double, well, it's doubled than it was last year. And their rationale is because they offer so much more than they did at that time. And so we want to bring um, some of the colleges that actually use CRMs, and it's just you just happen to use Element 451 because I think out of the 58 community colleges, 22 actually utilize them. And so we want to just have a conversation and get several questions from you all, answers to questions. Now we did already meet with two colleges, but this is different. So Devin, I know you were on before, so I want to make sure you know why we're doing this again. This is why it's different, a little different. Um, so the questions I put in the chat, and Devin, I'm gonna read them. Because you're driving and you can't see. So the questions we want to ask: what's the current status of your CRM? Are you using it well? What's the benefit of it? What's working well? What's some of the challenges and barriers you're seeing? Um, what are the features you're using versus the features that you have? Because what we're seeing is a lot of colleges have a lot of features in their CRM, but aren't only using maybe two or three. And so, is it worth the cost to pay for everything? Um, and you all are not going to use it. What's the pricing that you getting? If you have it, you can tell us the ballpark. What are you paying for, and also is it worth the cost? What you're using? Um, what's the total cost of ownership? And that means, Tori, that's a state thing. What does that mean? Just to clarify.
You can just tell us how much support costs
Okay,
year over year, and then how much did it cost to implement,
right.
if
So
anything.
Right. So there's the cost of purchasing it, and there's a cost of implementation and maintenance, which may be a whole different price point. And then, what was your experience with implementation? Do you have any challenges with implementation? Have you fully implemented? Are you in the process of implementing? And then, do you need help with implementation? And to be transparent, I'm gonna let you know we're looking at it because we're trying to determine do we move forward with an element 451 in a convenience contract, which is really costly even to the colleges, or do we look at other vendors um, for CRM and be honest about that because we may go look at other vendors, CRM vendors, but if you're not going to use any other vendors, then what you have, what's the point of doing that? So,
One other thing, Monty, just to add, just so we're talking apples to apples, what is product of Element are you using? What's the product name? Bolt, Engage, something totally different, Ignite? If you know, that would be helpful.
Are you using the
Sorry,
base
Lonnie.
or no? That's a great question. Are you using the base or are you using the? Or do you have the Cadillac?
Yeah.
Of it. So I'm gonna open it up and ask you, one, what do you have? Do you have a base, and what's working, what's not? Don't be shy.
I can
So I'll
start.
go ahead.
Oh.
I can go ahead and start. We're at Central Piedmont. We use the Engage level, and we're still in the implementation phase. Hopefully, rolling out some student support features here in about eight days. So we're still in the build process, but we've got a lot of stuff that's in place and making some movements on it.
So, Patrick, can I ask you about that?
Sure.
Because I didn't even know there were multiple levels with Element 451. I thought you bought the product and everything came with it.
It's probably the same level then. I think the Engage is like
It's the high level. Yeah.
it's
maybe-
the highest level you can get.
All
Maybe
right,
I
I'm
can-
looking at the products now. Yeah, okay. So I see that they have different packages here.
Yeah. The Bolt is like the base.
Yeah,
The Ignite is like the
Ignite.
middle grade, and then
Right.
the Engage is the
It's
highest.
everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
everything.
I got
David,
you.
go ahead. Just jump in too.
So, if you did not realize that there were levels to Element 451, it's probably because you were an early adopter. So, like for Scythe Tech, we were the first college in North Carolina, or the first community college to onboard with Element 451, and so it was just a one size fits all kind of deal. So we I would probably venture to guess that we have the best deal. Right now, our contract ends in 2025, so we might not be getting the best deal in a year or so. But so we have the whole thing. We were never asked to be in Engage or Ignite or Bolt. We just have back in 2020 when we started this process. We started the implementation in November of 2020. And for us, the implementation cost was $35,000. And then the yearly cost of like the subscription for Element 451 was $47,500 per year. So $35,000 for the implementation plus year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, $47,500 per year. In addition to that, whenever they onboarded Bolt or the like the AI features, that was an additional, I believe it was anywhere between $16,000 to $18,000 that was added onto our annual cost, and then they rolled out, I would say probably a year or two into our contract, unlimited texting. So they were charging, you just bought, I'm going to have 500,000 texts or whatnot. And so unlimited texting was like $5,000 a year. So we added that on as well. So I think where we are right now, we're probably spending close to $70,000 per year with Element at this point, with some of the additional features. So the things that we use the most, I would say, we've heavily used it from a marketing sense. So in the engagement section, campaigns, pages, forms, events, we use it for events all the time. We are rolling out appointments with our advisors right now. So we aren't totally using that feature. We're just sort of like beta testing it, but we are looking to roll that out. We we are using the AI features and the knowledge base, BoltBot, Discovery, all of those things very, very heavily. Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest things. Workflows, tasks, those kind of things we use quite a bit. So we have workflows built for prospect to applicant, applicant to enrolled. We have built a workflow for like, payment reminders and things like that, but the data isn't as clean. The connection with colleague isn't very good, and so we really kind of have to manually do that at this point. I would say the feature that we are probably not using to its fullest extent is really the application piece, and I wish that we were using it better, but it's just, I mean, it's been incredibly taxing on our IT department to create the connection. We've stood up Ethos for this. That didn't help, and so with Informer 5 coming through, we've like we just literally just restructured the way that we're doing data feeds. Instead of doing like one big SQL feed, we're doing like 12 Informer feeds instead. So we're hoping that that will work. We've built an international application. We've built CCP applications, but those still have bugs. We would love to create like a regular application to sort of use in tandem with the CFNC, so people could apply directly through Elements application feature, or they could apply through CFNC. So that's what we hope to do, but it becomes further and further from reality the more time that I feel like we spend on it. So
Hey,
that
Devin.
yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, I've been talking a lot.
I did interrupt you, Coach. Yeah, you're a
Yeah.
talker. I love you for that, though. I am too. The question, someone asked a question, Lauren asked a question, what other contracts have you been able to let go of because of this, because of Element?
Well, I hope that okay. Well, Tori, maybe you can help me with this. I think that we got rid of some like texting Trumpia, horrible name. Trumpia was like our texting feature or something like that, and then we got rid of that. We are hoping, so this is also, fingers crossed. Element at their June conference, they let us know that they're going to be working on early alerts and like student portals. So they are wanting to connect LMS integration, so we could have grade and attendance info in there, create some early alerts. So we're hoping if that happens with appointments and early alert, we could get rid of Navigate, which is $175,000 a year. So that would be amazing.
Wow.
We
Wow.
are really hoping that comes through. And
And
I'm sure that Tori could talk more about that.
okay. And Centrail, how much is Onslaught usually?
You say how much is it?
Yeah, what's the average cost? I know for you all,
Oh,
you're the largest, so it's probably more for you than
yeah,
anybody
I'm
else.
not sure what the cost is for Ocelot.
We
Okay.
ended up dropping Ocelot when we picked up Element.
Okay.
We
Was
did
it
too. Yeah,
We did too.
yeah, we did too.
was
We
that
dropped
expensive?
Ocelot.
Is that more like 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 usually in contract?
It
Yeah,
was
I think
we
we
look up
between
the
10 to
invoice.
20.
Around 20?
Yeah,
Okay.
25
Yeah.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one of the issues was if you exceeded the number of texts, then you got additional charges. And as we started transitioning to Element 451, they came back and said, well, we'll give you unlimited text. We were already down the road and we said, no, thanks.
Wow. Hey, Tori, Russo, question. Because I'm looking at pricing right now. I don't want you to bring it up on the screen, but what was the average price for Scythe Tech under the current pricing for that they provided? Because I'm trying to find out from the group if that pricing they provided is beneficial, if that's a deal or not.
For Scythe Tech, what level do you guys have? Engage, Ignite, Bolt?
Engage.
I think you said 70K you're paying, but you guys were an early adopter. Right now, the pricing is about 18, 19K higher.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
if you
I just looked at our budget line and On that
GTCC,
line,
yeah.
it's 80.
It's 80,000 currently.
For
Yeah.
Engage as well.
Yes.
So we're at 30,000 a year at South Piedmont with the additional 4 for the bolt bot. So 34 if you're including the bolt bot in it. And I don't know what level we have, but I believe we adopted kind of also before there were these different levels. But there hasn't been a feature that we haven't had access to, so I'm starting to think we might have the higher level.
Okay.
And is that including support? I think only 1 or 2 of you guys may be carrying support.
So there's minimal support, but
You can
like,
get
there's
the
like,
higher tier support.
yes, we don't pay
That's-
the additional tiers for support.
yeah,
but
only 2 did from our college 58. Okay.
Yeah,
Which, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we were early adopter as well, so I'm not sure which level that we have, but we do have the level that provides the highest amount of direct support. And
Engage.
and I know the contract changed. I think we recently did a new contract. So we were didn't understand the levels of support. We just said the one that we can continue with using Basecamp and keep our, one-on-one meetings and all of that. We need to extend that. So whatever the highest level of support is what we have.
Do you know how much you pay for the base
I
product?
cannot find the contract. I
Okay.
just started looking this morning. I'll have to look for the contract and get back with you for that. And we are using it for, probably everything prospecting, everything that Devin mentioned, heavy on the prospecting, events management. We are fully using it for applications, international, CCP. We rolled those out 2 years ago, and we are fully integrated with our CFNC application. Applications come from CFNC to Element, then into Colleague. We started processing all applications in Element for
Okay.
spring 20. What year are we in right now? 24. Spring 24. So we've gone through a spring, summer, fall cycle of processing applications in there. And we are using it also for communication with newly admitted students as well with the microsites. We look forward to using it for the student success module, which I don't think that is fully built out yet.
Yeah.
But from we're using it from prospecting to applicants and then newly admitted.
So there's a question then. So do you only use it? It's kind of a weird. Do you only use it for CRM or you use it for other stuff also? Because the statement is more than the CRM. So do you use it more than just the CRM or do you use it for things outside of that? I know once you get into the student success and student support model, yes, you will be more than CRM, but currently is it really CRMs?
When you say CRM,
I
we're
guess
using it
that
for all
is
communication. We're using it for,
okay. Okay.
application processing. And our WCE area, they're using it a lot as well. So we all almost want to have 2 instances. In fact, we asked in the beginning, could we just have 2 instances where admissions folks can use it and then WCE can use it? But they said, let's try to use the same instance and see how that goes. So WCE, they're heavy using it. I know a lot for their events.
Okay.
And it's, CCR stuff that they're using it for. So
Mhm.
Central, we'd actually asked them for a test instance that we could test it before putting it in production.
oh no, they
The
don't like
live
test
instance?
instances.
They didn't like that at all. And when they did, they were like, sure, we'll do that. Extra 20,000.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an
Yeah,
extra
but we wanted a
30,000
whole
for us.
different, like for WCE to use, not a test instance, but 2 live
Yeah.
platforms for, different areas of the college. And artists, he said, as much as I would like to take your money for that, I guess he had never done that before. So he said, let's try to use it all together. So we've been using it for both sides of the house.
And it's working.
I think it's working. Our lead person has not hollered too much. I mean, she does a lot of helping them along on the WCE side. But again, we meet weekly with Element, our dedicated person.
Mhm.
We have questions or anything like that. And so I'm finding that as we go along, which is how I know our implementation is really working very well. We don't have as many questions for her weekly. So we may need to do once a month now, but they use Basecamp a lot to help with a lot of glitches. You need a person to monitor daily. At any moment, the integration can stop or come to a pause with CFNC and going into Element. So you just need to monitor those things a lot. But they've been responsive and, we've been
Santrell,
okay.
and I'm going to the question that Lauren has just posted. Do all of you have a full-time position dedicated to monitoring it? Okay. So
Yeah.
I see Herbert, your head is shaking. Santrell, you have, go ahead, JJ.
Yeah, I finish your thought because I'm probably going to piggyback off of.
Just
Yeah.
wondering, so Devin, from at Foresight Tech, they have a person who feeds the AI bot to tell it information and make sure that it's giving good information. But I hear from Santrell that you have a person who's managing Element period that's doing all of the connections, making sure that building things, making sure that everything is going correctly. Devin, does Hannah do those things as well?
She manages our knowledge base, does a lot.
You cut out on us, Devin.
Yeah.
That's okay. Stay alive. Don't die trying to talk to us. Okay. Go ahead, JJ.
I think, and so really, this is where the rubber meets the road. And, I'll talk from my experience when we onboarded our 12 institutions with the VISO at the time from the system office level when we were paying, the, 2 million, whatever it was over the course of the 3 years. It's that for many of our small colleges, we need technical expertise that we may not have, or our IT staff may not be able to devote to us to lift and get many of these platforms off the ground to a space where you are on a strong, solid foundation. And so ongoing ongoing tech support is one thing, but then the initial integration with colleague and behind the scenes, and our IT team is very small, and so we're pulling, we have one colleague expert on our campus outside of saying, using Forelli or other, like third party vendors to help us build and do things on the back end. And so, I think as we're looking to help more colleges, this is a great thing. I'm all for system solutions. You have to think about the other lift.
Yeah.
That, it may be knowledge, it may be just time,
Support,
whatever the case may be. Exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead, Patrick.
So I was just going to say that for us, we're actually treating it as another student information system. So our ITS department is controlling basically as your subject matter experts, and then from within the rest of the campus or the rest of the college, we've designated some folks who have higher permissions within the platform who would be able to build their own things. And then, so moving forward, we have what's called a build team. So our build team is actually building out the product as we speak. And then after that, that build team is actually part of people from across the college that will be using the software daily. And so then those would be the go-to people within those departments who, if they want to send a campaign or send something like that, then they could go to them to say, hey, how do I do this? And then they could show them. And if they have the permissions right, then they'll be able to do it. Then on the other side of it, it's just like colleague or anything else. Something breaks or something needs to be a new setting or a new thing put in place. That's where our ITS team will come in and start supporting folks in it. So our plan is to kind of spread it out a little bit like that. And then we have I know I had talked with Santrell about this a bit, and the folks at Wake Tech about how do we govern it. So our governance is going to follow the same thing that our ITS processes do when it comes to requesting a change within the platform or requesting some new feature or something like that. So it'll wind up going through an approval process and then through our individual committees to say yay or nay on whether it's good and moving forward. But I think for us, because of our size, I think that's a good layout of it. We're not really designating, like we're not hiring a new person to run it. We're treating it as if it's another software platform that we're managing.
I have two questions, and be very honest. These may be, well, one, yeah, two questions, and be very honest. One, and Patrick, you worked at a smaller college. Herb, you worked at a smaller college too, didn't you? Would if the price was $47,000 for a smaller college, would that be a lot as far as a current price for the engaged portion of, and we talking about Element right now because all of you have Element. So if that was the price, would that be too much for the colleges? And two, the second question, if we came up with another CRM, the fact that so many of you all are currently vested with Element 451, would that be a no-go?
Oh, that would definitely be a no-go for us. I mean,
Okay.
we're we're just getting into the
Right.
That's why I
know,
said it's one of
the
those
same for us.
questions.
of
Same
Element
for
for
us. No,
us
we're
to change course right now,
we're
unless we're
100%
absolutely
invested.
made to. And I feel like we are just finishing the implementation stage and we're in the maintenance part of it, and then trying to now integrate new features that we're learning about and, clean up and tweaking some things that we need to.
Okay. Thank you for that. That it helps a lot. So for the smaller colleges, would 47 be a lot for them to get this tool? And this is the base price. This is not implementation, I don't think, or anything else like that.
I don't
feel-
think, oh. I was gonna say, I think the base price is one thing, but it's the having the staff to build the features and
Yes.
maintain the features that is gonna be the harder bullet to bite.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think with the levels, for the smaller colleges, they could make a decision about what they want to implement. I know for working at Elements, probably the communication would have been the biggest piece for us. We could
Mhm.
have definitely kept using CFNC application, but the communications piece, and I think that's the most critical part for any school, because we had a hodgepodge of ways to communicate. We had no one who really truly understood communications management in colleague. So, we had a bunch of those communications built out for financial aid and they got support for it, but everybody else was on their own.
Mhm.
So, I mean, that was another problem that we've had in the past. So something to make communication much easier. And what we found with our implementation of Element, the marriage of the email and the SMS has been such a boon. And the fact that we now have the bulk bot has been fantastic. We get so much robust communication with students who can go on the website and, and enter that chat. And a lot of that stuff is answered from the knowledge base by the Bolt bot. But we can then, and this is where we've kind of fallen down, we don't have buy-in from the rest of the college to be able to jump in and have people, like when you come in the morning, log into your email, log into your Teams. They're not logging into Element, so that if a student has a question about financial aid or a student has a question about advising,
Mhm.
we can't assign those to people because they're not logged in. They wanted us to put out there, call us, and that is a problem.
Mm. Okay, Patrick, what about for Stanley back in the day? Would that be a stretch?
I'd say just sheer cost. I think you'd have to really show where the trade-off is. So if I have a supporting platform that we're currently paying for and a contract for, you'd have to really show the trade-off on how this meets that need. And I think you'll have to as a college that size, you'd have to be willing to bite the bullet to maybe overlap maybe 6 months as far as an implementation and a build out.
Okay.
So
So
you'd
for a
still have the
larger
support of
college,
the regular platform and then that one. What was that,
okay.
Lonnie?
So for a larger college, because 3 of you are large colleges now. So is 150,000 too much for larger colleges? What are you getting? Especially for Central Piedmont and for a Wake Tech, is 150,000 a lot or too much? Because
I mean, I heard they were dropping 100 and some thousand for Navigate, right? And then this can replace Navigate at a lower price point.
Maybe
So
in 4 years, not today.
yeah. But I mean, Navigate has not worked well for us. So we're hoping that and Element seems to be doing pretty good on their product, additional changes. If we a lot of the stuff that we've asked for seems to be showing up for everybody now. So,
Okay.
the security features and things like that. But I think 150 I mean, to me personally, having worked at A&T, um, features that we have right now are so much better than the platform we had when I was at A&T.
Mhm.
And I haven't done a cost benefit analysis, but just from the anecdotal evidence, this is the product that I've wanted for years.
Okay. So what's the downside to Element?
The
Go ahead.
lift it
So
takes to
far for
build.
us, it's just the implementation. Yeah.
Mhm.
Working through the implementation process and building it out. I mean, Santrell, you guys are just now at the end of the end of that part. That's
We are, and no product is perfect, and so that's what I
Yeah.
had to explain to staff. You may, want something else, but that's not going to be perfect either. So you just have to roll up your sleeves and understand that there are going to be bumps and bruises along the way. And we feel like we used to say we're taking 2 steps forward and 3 steps backwards. Now we're saying we're taking 2 steps forward and a half a step backwards now.
Yep.
So
Okay.
it's good to
Okay.
be in that place. But you need the support from Element and for them to be responsive to
Mhm.
what you're asking for. And sometimes don't take no as an answer. Say,
we
well, let's
just keep
find a way
pushing.
to keep pushing
Yep.
and find a way to make it work. And sometimes that may require getting on a call and talking it through or linking them directly with CFNC. Like, you two need to figure this out for us. And that has worked in our favor. So I can't remember what was the question.
No, you answered. You answered. You answered it.
Yeah,
JJ,
and I
you have
will
something
say
to say?
our implementation, we used a team approach. The dedicated person that we have, she didn't come on until a year later, but she was over our records, admissions records area. So she was very into communications management with colleague. So she had that background kind of, but none of us had any experience with the CRM. So we definitely used the team approach and we met with Element every week. We had a team from Element to help us and they were very good with helping us along the way. But of course, there were some technical issues, but I feel pleased with the support that we got. I'm not sure if colleges who sign on now are getting that same support from what I hear. It wasn't a, hey, you figure it out, you build it. It was, let's build this together.
But they were new and just getting in. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, one of the other things that I don't know if this has been helpful for you guys, but I've noticed that Element has been listening to us and they went out and they hired somebody with colleague experience to be on their senior leadership team. So her experience has been very helpful for us as well.
Okay. JJ, you typing something? Just say it.
Well, I'm still going to type my thought because I'm trying to make sure I say it correctly. I think in order for this implementation to work at any campus level, you need someone on the back end in the technical side. You need someone to understand, marketing, graphics, publicity, right? Sort of on the front end,
Right.
how to speak to individuals, right? You need system level tech support, whether it's CFNC, the system office, some of those larger questions that, impact everyone. And then obviously you need your super users on campus who are sort of the daily drivers of content, referrals,
And most
responses,
colleges don't have
things
all
of that
that
nature.
now.
Well, you do, but in our case, where these are multiple people wearing
The
multiple
different
hats
hats.
Right, right,
The
right,
different
right.
hats.
That's what I mean.
versus
Right. They don't have
you know
that.
s- Wake or
individual person.
GTCC having dedicated personnel or offices or support teams to do it. And so this either the system office or Element has to provide a framework for your 6 giants, your 30 colleges in the middle, and then however many colleges on the very the really really tiny ones, on how to make it work. And so if this means providing BSAs at the system level to
Yeah.
work with
Yeah.
CRMs,
Yeah,
then
yeah.
that needs to
So,
happen.
so I was going to ask that question. That's the question. I'm glad you walked into it. That's the next question I was going to ask. And this is something that, not that we can do it, but just pie in the sky. So, as far as convenience contract, I'm thinking that the larger colleges may not need the convenience contract per se. You all need the support from the system office to make sure you're able to operationalize things well. Whereas the smaller colleges may need that convenience contract for pricing. Yes or no? Or I could be missing the mark. I mean,
But I think it depends on the cost.
Right, it depends on the
Yeah, yeah.
contract, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
Is it gonna
we
make
need
it cheaper
to
for
look
us or
at that,
not?
because that may be in our favor to
Yeah.
pivot to a convenience contract. I
Right.
don't know.
As long as it doesn't limit, as long as it's, at the engaged level, don't put us at the bolt.
Okay, I'm glad you said that.
And it depends on the college's needs too, because some may
Right.
need more than others, especially depends on where you are in your implementation. In the beginning, we needed a lot more than what we do now.
Okay.
And I would say to JJ's point, I think the one of the things that would help, especially with a BSA, would be understanding what are the connections they're making. Like, not so much, they don't need to know the platform inside and out, but understanding how's the data that we're getting, and if there's an error that we're seeing, someone that would be able to understand, here's how an API works, here's how Ethos is grabbing it, here's how the system is
Right.
exposing it. That's our wrestle now, is trying to figure out. We're about to start digging through the API so that we can start grabbing data that's not exposed currently in Element, just so that we can run referrals and run FTE reporting out of the information that we're grabbing. So it's one of those things where it would be nice if I were to contact someone at the system office and say, do you guys have any support that we could reach out to at the system office, that we can, kind of pick their brain on what's the best way to connect these in there, and something that's maintainable moving forward, and what can we do to spur that along. And then with the system office also, like, I guess it would be you to be on the hammer end of it, to say every college in North Carolina needs this feature.
Right.
Get it done.
Right. Get it done.
And it needs to be a system fix, not a 58 fix. Does that make sense, right?
Yeah, individual fix.
Right. We don't want colleges. Well, let me rephrase that, because there is nuance to this. Each college is going to customize their solution to best meet their needs. But for these large things that impact the system holistically, we need to ensure that when they roll out a new feature or a new whatever, that it's an easy implementation across the board, and you're not having to call them each week for your own
Right. I got
problem.
you.
Am I making sense?
It makes sense. Yes, we got it. Russo and Reynolds. Do you all have anything you want to ask or add to this?
I thank you all for talking from the different perspectives. That's really what we were hoping to find out. We want to provide solutions to colleges who are not able to have CRMs, who and support. But what I hear is every system. I'm hearing that Element is a great system. There's other systems that could potentially work, but really it is about the support that we provide to colleges so that they can best use whatever tool that they have, get it off the ground, helping them with implementation. And that's really insightful as we continue our search. So thank you very much for sharing with us.
Russo, any questions or comments that you want to make?
Russo probably dissed us a long time ago. He's
Yeah, he
just going to
probably-
listen to the recording.
He did Joe, didn't he?
What?
Sorry.
While we have you on the phone, I think I know our team wants to take some field trips and learn as much as possible. So
yeah,
keep him. If you get a call from us, please answer.
Central,
Yeah,
you know, we
guys.
send a voicemail now.
Was JJ, was the information that Orna sent out to you, was that helpful?
Lauren, I'll let Lauren respond. Yeah.
Okay.
Was that your question my question that was in regard to QList?
Well, JJ had reached out with some questions, and I had Orna, our dedicated person, answer those. Were those helpful? Her answers?
Yeah, so we definitely need to, I think what we know is we need to improve our knowledge base. We're sort of just in this weird space where our organization is building a new website. So we're trying to understand how much energy and effort we put into building our knowledge base now, knowing that it's going to change in 6 months. And so that's sort of the weird space we're in. You know, our knowledge base isn't as robust as it probably should be. I think we're only at maybe a third of the content that some of you all have in it. And so it's sort of do we dedicate man hours? Again, we don't have a dedicated person on IT with this. So, this is governed by, Lauren and our director of marketing. And then we have some other folks in the pot. But the hardest part for, us and where we currently sit is, our technical expertise, we would have to either outsource or, do a carbon copy from a larger institution to help us get the framework in place, just because of our personnel challenges here.
I'm gonna say that so in our conversations with Element, you guys aren't far from everyone else. So don't sell yourself short. For the most part, every time we talk to them, so we're IT. We're talking to them and telling them how to do things and what we should be doing in the system and how we should be building it out and moving forward and stuff like that. They have you guys actually telling them the same thing. So they have admissions folks, enrollments folks, and marketing folks that are trying to work with them. It's you guys the ones that are building it as well. Whereas we're in the back end of it. Like, no, this part's broken. It needs to be fixed so that we can do this thing to it. Like change this so that we can open that up.
Yeah. So I think we need to probably identify some resources, human